Hello, I'm Liz Ackley, and today I'm going to talk to you more about my summer garden series of paintings. And this time I'm moving into the sort of middle stages of the painting development. And so I'm going to share various aspects of that with you. And in particular, what I'm going to be sharing with you is this interplay between, or this sort of move between studies and paintings. The paintings are on the board, but then I do quite a bit of work on paper that has come originally from the work I did out in the garden on paper. And I jump between the studies and the paintings. And I'm often asked, the sort of, how does that happen? And the reality is, as you'll see, that it's not a linear process. We jump between the studies and the paintings, and it all sort of helps to inform the work, really, or helps us to develop our understanding of what it is we want to say. And so I'm going to be sharing some of the studies that I do as warm-ups, which also help me to unpick the subject matter. I'm going to show some of the work on paintings and also some of the journaling that I am doing at this stage, which all helps to sort of help us to understand what it is we want to say in the paintings. Because as the paintings move through the middle stages, it becomes more important for us to know where these are going, and we start our dialogue with the paintings. And so that's really what I'm going to talk about today. So without further ado, I'm going to turn the camera around and get going. So here are 4 from a larger group of paintings, and these have had the initial stages that I'll put the link to the previous video in the notes. And then I've added collage, again from mark making, inspired by the studies. And now I'm going to be working further on these paintings. Before I'm going to work on the paintings, I usually do studies from the studies, in my case studies from the studies on the wall that are from my work on location. And here I'm doing this little technique where I'm putting down 2 shapes, a line and 3 details. And that comes from the original work I did in the garden. And it's a really good way of getting my eye back in and re-establishing a connection with the studies and with my experience of being in the garden, and of familiarising myself with the studies and looking again at them in detail. And so really simple approach here, but again just gets me in that sort of noticing mode prior to working on the paintings. And as you can see, they're very abstract, but the shapes are very important in the sense that they come from, as I say, these studies, and start enabling me to really start noticing aspects of the studies on the wall. And this is another sort of study that I'm doing, and this is my usual thumbnails, slightly bigger and square, just like the paintings are square, and the previous studies you'll have noticed are square as well. And that just helps to be consistent with the proportions for compositional needs, really. And so here I am working very quickly. They're just a few minutes each study, and again it's refamiliarizing myself with those studies, with the marks, helping me to understand what it is I'm interested in, what I might want to be saying in my paintings. So I do a lot of these, and you're seeing me here just do several of them. What I'm doing here is I'm actually picking and plonking the marks that are capturing my attention. So this is my series sketchbook, notebook, journal, whatever you like to call it. And I have started to write much more about my experiences and feelings of the summer garden. And just on these double pages, what I'm doing here is I'm writing the things really just like a list of things that interest, inspire, sort of kind of capture my imagination about the summer garden and about my experience of visiting the Didsbury garden in particular. And so there's a whole range of things here that I won't go into, just to share that's an approach. And what I'll also do is just, actually I'll put it on top, what I also have started to do is to sort of close my eyes and think about the summer garden, and then just write sort of like a whole sort of stream of consciousness, if you like, and then underline things and sort of see what's within this text. So here I am at my painting wall, and beside the wall I've just got a few things that I've taken from my streams of consciousness writing. And the interesting thing is that these sort of touch on different elements or things that I'm thinking about the garden. So the first one is about the garden being more than just the planting. And so I say the summer garden isn't just about the plants, it's about how being held in this space makes you feel. And the second one is around the idea of the real sort of richness and detail and extravaganza of the planting against the sort of like the space of the sky and the grass and the paths, and that these are the conveyors of the journey through the garden and around the garden. And then the third one is around the garden and in terms of its architecture. And then there's another one here about the benches. So as you can see, just sort of pertinent statements that may or may not be useful as I start evolving and developing the paintings further. And here is one of that group of paintings as I start to work over the collage. And I'm using shape and line and detail to sort of build the image up. And I'm taking away and then I'm adding and taking away again. And you can see how I'm using the experience of doing those warm-up studies to inform the painting. And so these marks are not marks that I've just invented, they're marks that I've created and practiced from the studies. And it's a sort of a push me, pull me sort of approach really, and I'm constantly turning the painting because I can turn it 4 times because of the fact that it's square, so that's handy. But ultimately the big shapes that are on the right hand side I don't quite gel with, and they don't quite work with me against how I remember the garden. They're possibly too cartoony, so you'll see how over the period of time I'm developing this painting, which was about 25 minutes, and obviously I've sped up the video, that they ultimately disappear and are reinvented. And that's the idea really, is that you keep things loose and fresh and not overly thinky, and it's hard sometimes, and sometimes you become overly conscious, and then really you do need to stop, which is why I limit the time on these paintings and why I work in series so that I can move on to the next, and often I'll set an alarm to do that. And these colours, I'm sort of keeping with these, quite a large set of colours, but you can see how I'm chopping and changing them as I'm evolving this painting. And that limey green is really important, and some of the darks are really important. And I'm now covering over that top bit. I told you I wasn't happy with it, and I kind of reinvent it, and then I'm not happy with that either. So you see me wiping things off, adding things, taking things away in different ways. You can see that white going on the top there now. And then I'm using this approach where I put paper over and draw over to create marks. And then I'm using the lime green as a sort of relatively transparent layer that can go over the top, and you can see underneath through, so that it helps with creating that sort of 3D look of the painting. And finally I'm adding this rather wonderful Indian yellow, and that's much more, has the feel, and it becomes a little bit of the garden, and it has a little bit of a reflection of one of my studies in particular. And I'm constantly trying to change and evolve and layer this rather busy area. And this is where the painting is at the moment, and clearly a long way to go. And this messy middle stage can be tricky, as you've seen, but we battle through, and I will be continuing going back and forth between the studies and the paintings for all of this group of works, and inevitably I will also be developing the written, the journaling, and sort of starting to try and have that dialogue with the paintings and evolve by working with what I've got in the paintings. And as the saying goes, the answers are always in the paintings. So I hope you found that useful. Please do like and subscribe if you haven't already subscribed, and I'd love to get your comments, and I'll catch you next time. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.